Hello and welcome to Empire of Wargames. My name is Deeptesh and today we are going to talk about the Drukhari Boarding Patrol box. If you're interested in pricing, points, upgrades and so on, you've come to the right place. So a couple of days ago, GW decided to tease two new boxes for Boarding Patrol, one for the Drukhari and one for the Eldari. We are obviously going to cover the Drukhari today, and we are going to cover the Eldari a day or two after this one goes up, so please consider subscribing if you want to see that one as well. Alright, so let's go over what's in the box one by one and talk about all the units. So you're getting 26 models with this specific box. You're getting an HQ choice in here, which is not all that common for Boarding Patrol games because you don't need one. But in our case, we have a SUCCUBUS in here, and that is a really cool model. That is, as far as I know, not sold separately outside of the GW store. At least not that I've seen. So it is a cool inclusion. A super solid model, especially with certain weapons, at least in regular Warhammer 40k. I think the whip is still some of the coolest kind of piece of gear you can equip an HQ choice with, and the SUCCUBUS is also rather cheap, so using it for Boarding Patrol or for Combat Patrol games is really cool, because I personally prefer to run super cheap HQ choices, so I have more points for the rest, for a lot more bodies. So yeah, it's a welcome sight in here. When it comes to our troops choice, we have witches. We have two boxes, which means 20 of them. 20 witches, you can make 10 of them into blood brides if you wanted to. You need to buy the upgrade for your SUCCUBUS to make that possible, of course, but it is an option, and that bumps up the points cost a lot in this box, so we are going to talk about that in a second. And yeah, witches, super solid models, make sense. With the witches and the SUCCUBUS in this box kind of replaces the start collecting from a certain point of view, and it is cool because if you combine this one with another box, you're almost at a real space rate. But that is also something we are going to cover in a second. So yeah, witches, super solid, have a ton of weapon options. The hacker tricks that is in there can also be upgraded with a blaster, an agonizer, a power sword. You have a ton of options with the Drukhari kits. And even though these kits are, I think, approximately 13 years old by now, they really hold up. I think Witches, Cabalite Warriors, and the entire Drukhari range that released back in 2010-ish looks amazing still. So yeah, Witches are cool. And last but not least, we have 5 incubi, and a lot of people are asking whenever you look at the picture of the Boarding Patrol that there is a small little figurine, the small statue. There's going to be a circle around that. That is just an additional thing that GW throws in there. It has no it doesn't have rules or anything. It is just a objective marker, kind of something that's space for on the sprue or whatever. It's cool, looks nice, but that is that. But the incubi hit incredibly hard. They are super squishy, but whenever they get into melee, something is going to die. And they look amazing because that kit is from 2019 approximately, so it is fairly recent, and probably one of the coolest kits that the Drukhari have available to them. All in all, they make a lot of sense in here. It is a fairly melee-focused list, which I think makes a lot of sense for Boarding Patrol games, because it is fairly easy to get into melee and yeah, to get your incubi where they need to be. So yeah, the inclusion is very welcome here. All in all, the list setup is fairly straightforward. If you just take a quick glance at the list, it is all melee all the time. You try to deploy them in boarding actions. That's not really possible, but you would technically try to deploy them as far forward as you can and just push forward as fast as you can. So yeah, full melee list, easy to play, easy to understand, and it is fairly beginner friendly. Last but not least, I wanted to note that this box can easily be used for Boarding Patrol games or boarding actions games, Kill Team, and regular Warhammer 40,000. For Kill Team, all you need technically are 10 witches. For Boarding Patrol, all the models in here are legal, otherwise it would make sense. And for regular Warhammer 40,000, all the models you can see on the screen are also legal. So that is a great thing. Mainly, it's always about the Kill Team compatibility, which is given here, which is really cool. Now that we know what's in the box, what about the points? Now, when we look at the points, we are looking at 485 points, and I think that is completely maxed out. The blood brides have all the weapon options. The hacker tricks in both squads are fully equipped with phantasm grenade launchers, power swords, blast pistols, all that good stuff. The SUCCUBUS is upgraded, and the Incubi don't have any upgrade options. So 485 is, I'm fairly certain, as far as this box goes, and I think that is absolutely playable territory. Is this a list I would recommend if given any kind of choices when it comes to Drukhari? Probably not, but I would say that this box is more than playable and definitely usable for boarding actions and for regular Warhammer 40,000 for that matter. Now when it comes to the upgrades, the first one we're always going to cover is the boarding patrol plus the combat patrol upgrade, and this one brings you to 960-ish points, a little bit more, a little bit less, it depends. And as I said previously, combining both boxes almost gives you a real space rate. If you buy this, paint everything up, all you really need is a homunculus and one squad of Rags or Drazar for that matter, and you're done. You're good to go, and it's a great start for any Drukhari army that is not focused on just one of the 3 different routes, I guess, you can pick whenever you start a Drukhari army. If you want to go all witches, that is definitely possible, and this box is perfect for that. But if you want to go real space raid, going from the boarding patrol box to the combat patrol box to buying 2 separate kits is definitely going to get you there. And that brings me to my separate recommendations. Now, as I said, Drazar is a solid choice, can be used as any HQ choice for any of the real space raid parts, so he makes a lot of sense. One of the coolest models, fairly recent model, hits hard, and yeah, fits well with the Incubi thematically as well. So I think Drazar just makes a lot of sense as a separate buy. And the same applies to Regs as well. Regs fill a different role on the battlefield. They are tanky compared to almost the rest of the army, and they are just cool to field, and yeah, they just make a lot of sense as an additional buy if you want to move towards the real space raid. Otherwise, as I said previously, the combat patrol for the Drukhari is excellent. I always review it very, very highly, and it is definitely a box I usually recommend. So yeah, mashing the 2 value boxes together and saving a lot of money that way definitely makes sense. And last but not least, we are going to talk about the pricing. As always, pricing is all over the place, especially Australian pricing. And this time around, I found myself having to go down in price. So leaning towards the price that the Space Marine Boarding Patrol box had, which was £65 or local equivalent. As always, March 6th means price increases. Not sure how it's going to affect whatever you see on the screen right here, but I'm fairly certain if everything goes up by the same margin, or at least approximately, you're going to stay at around 30% savings. The important thing to keep in mind here whenever this box goes up for pre-order is, if this box costs £75 or potentially more, I would stay clear of this one, because at that point the savings are going to be below 25%, maybe even below 20%, and at that point this box is kind of weird. You're still saving money obviously, but if you don't need explicitly everything that is in the box, you're going to find yourself just buying stuff separately is just a better choice at that point. So yeah, there is that to consider. Pricing all over the place. If the pricing is somewhat similar to what you see on the screen right here, it is definitely a box I would strongly recommend from a savings perspective, and also from the perspective of how playable is it and what are you getting in this box. It's just a cool box. You're going to have to paint a lot of witches, but that's just how it goes. And with that, my opinion on the box is actually fairly positive. I've played this list a couple of times. I actually played a similar list before this list was actually teased, but with 2 squads of Incubis, or 10 Incubis rather. And yeah, it's fun. Drukhari are super fun to use for boarding actions games. This box seems to fit very, very well into the entire theme. It seems to replace the Star Collecting a little bit, which I think is cool, especially if you are a Drukhari player looking to form a real space raid. This box is kind of a must-have if you're new to the faction, and yeah, there's just a lot to consider when looking at this box. And one last thing I wanted to mention, I'm not going to do this for every video, but I'm going to do it here. Obviously, all of these boxes, the boarding patrol boxes, are limited run, at least as far as we know. The Space Marines box is sold out, the Chaos box is sold out, the Tyranids box is sold out, at least at the time of recording. And yeah, if you want them, it's the old FOMO situation. If you can kind of make sure that you have enough money for everything, and if you don't have piles of plastic in your room and you actually have the time to paint all these up, be there on Saturday at whatever time your pre-orders go up. For me in Europe, it's 11 AM, and pick it up then. It's probably going to be sold out in the first 5 to 10 minutes. It is what it is. It sucks. but it's worth mentioning at least from time to time on these videos, because a lot of people think, hey, it's a starter set, it looks similar to a Combat Patrol, so it's surely going to stay on shelves. Sadly, that's not the case here, or at least it doesn't seem to be the case. So keep that in mind, and yeah, make informed purchasing decisions, and don't buy it just because it's limited, because there's nothing special edition about this box. You can buy everything separately if you wanted to, so yeah, take it easy. And with that, if you have any opinions on the box, drop it down in the comments below and let me know what you think. If you have any questions regarding the army, regarding getting into Warhammer 40,000 if you're new, please ask those questions in the comments and I'll try my best to get back to you and answer those questions. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was informative and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.